Here we are in 2-3C, and we're looking at the at-home practice problems. So it says find the equation of the line through point 5, 2 and perpendicular to y equals 1/5 x minus 12. This looks familiar because the only change from 2-3B to 2-3C is now we're looking at perpendicular rather than parallel. So we want it through the same point, but now perpendicular to this line. So here's how we go about doing that. Excuse me. We have through the point 5, 2 and perpendicular to y equals 1/5 x minus 12. Now the key thing here is to see that the slope of this line, I'm just going to highlight this, is 1/5. Okay, so the slope of this line is 1/5. I'm just going to, again, highlight that. I want a line, I want an equation of a line. So I want y equals mx plus b once again. My slope needs to be, or my line needs to be perpendicular to this one. That means the slope has to be the negative reciprocal. So it needs to be -5/1, or if you'd rather write that as -5. Okay, so what you do again is you flip this fraction. That creates 5/1. That's the reciprocal. A negative reciprocal means put a negative sign in front of it or change the sign if it already happened to be negative. This one started as positive. So we get -5/1, which is -5. So we know that our line is going to look like y equals -5x plus b. Now we can plug in the point just like we always do. Now 5, 2, plug in 5 for x, 2 for y, right? That's what the point it goes through. We end up with 2 is equal to -25 plus b. Add 25 to both sides, you end up with 27 is equal to b. So the equation of the line that I'm looking for, well, I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. M is -5. B equals 27, so that is y equals -5 times x plus 27. So the equation of the line I'm looking for is y equals -5x plus 27. Now, as far as the next question goes, find the equation of a line through the point 5, -3 and perpendicular to y equals 7x plus 5. We're going to do this in the very same way. So let's pull up that problem. Okay, through the point 5, -3 and perpendicular to y equals 7x plus 5. Now, the slope of the line that I'm given, the slope of this line here is 7. Okay, or if you'd rather, think of it as a improper fraction of 7/1. That makes it a little bit easier when I go ahead and find the perpendicular slope. So I want my line to be perpendicular. That means, again, the slope needs to be the negative reciprocal. So I'm going to negate 7/1, and then I'm going to flip that upside down. So -1/7 is going to be my slope. All right. So again, negative reciprocal for perpendicular lines. So y equals -1/7 x plus b. Now I can plug in a point. The point that I'm given is 5, -3. So plug in -3 for the y value, and then plug in 5 for the x value. Now, when you do that, you're going to get some messy fractions. That's okay. 1/7 times 5 is 5/7. So when you multiply -1/7 times 5, you get -5/7. as a fraction. We're going to add 5/7 to both sides, excuse me. So when you add 5/7 to 3, you get, depending on how you want to write this, either -2 and 2/7 or -16/7. If you want to write a -16/7, that's the improper fraction. Again, your calculator converts that for you by just hitting a couple of buttons. So I'm just going to leave it as an improper fraction and -16/7. If you wanted to write that as -2 and 2/7, that's perfectly fine. So now what we've done is we found the slope and the y value of the y-intercept of what we're looking for. And so now I can just simply write y equals mx plus b, where m is -1/7 and b is -16/7. So y equals -1/7 x minus 16/7. That is my final answer. That's the equation that we're looking for. Again, you can write -16/7 as either an improper fraction or a mixed number on the test. All right. So there you go. That's what you're looking for. Now let's do one more problem from these at-home practice problems. Number 3 says find the equation of a line through the point 1,6 and perpendicular to y equals x minus 13. All right, so let's pull that one up. Find the equation of a line through the point 1,6 and perpendicular to y equals x minus 13. Now, first thing I'll notice on this line that I'm given, the slope is 1, and I'm going to think of that as a fraction of 1/1, okay? That means that the slope that I want needs to be the negative reciprocal of 1. If I think about flipping this fraction, it's still 1/1, but I have to negate it because we're looking at negative reciprocals. So my slope, or I should say the slope of the line that I'm looking for is -1. So negative reciprocal of 1 is -1. Okay. So y equals -1x plus b is the equation of the line that I'm looking for. Now I just need to find b. The way we always do that is we just plug in a point. So plug in the point 1,6. So 6 in for the y value, 1 in for the x value. When you do that, you end up with 6 equals -1. -1 times 1 is -1 plus b. So you can add 1 to both sides and end up with a b equals 7. So there you go. B is 7, m is -1. Now I know what the equation is. The equation is y equals -1x plus 7. So that is the equation of a line that is through the point 1,6 and perpendicular to y equals x minus 13. All right, so there you go. Again, notice that you're not using the minus 13 part of this perpendicular line. The only part that we really need is the coefficient out front, which is our 1. Coefficient in front of the x, which is a 1. So we just need the slope. So there you go. Now, once again, as always, I'm going to stop there after those. If you want to do 4 and 5 on your own, the answers are in the back of the book, so you can check your work on that, but you just follow the same pattern that we did on these problems here.